Hello friends, welcome to my channel, Quiz and Storyline. Today, we're going to talk about a story that begins with a girl, struggling for her life in the jungle, injured and desperate to survive. Suddenly, from behind, a tall and deformed man appears. This man was a cannibal, meaning he ate human flesh. The deformed refers to people who have mutated due to chemical effects and have become extremely dangerous. This deformed man was so powerful that he crushed the girl's face with one hand. Because of this, he was known as Crusher. He picked up the girl's corpse and took her to his house deep in the jungle. His older brother was also there, calmly watching TV. Crusher took the body outside and began cutting it into pieces. At the same time, we see a recording on the TV where Crusher is shown killing the same girl whose body he was now chopping up. In reality, this girl had been imprisoned and tortured before, but somehow she had managed to escape. However, Crusher caught her again and killed her. Now, she was about to become their meal. Her meat was being fried in oil with onions, and they began eating it with great pleasure. Next, in the story, we see a group of people kidnapping a rich man's daughter and driving off with her. The girl was locked in the trunk of the car. The kidnappers included a thug, his brother, a young man, and his cousin, Sera. Sera and her cousin were not actually kidnappers, but they had been forced to join the group due to circumstances. Where were they going? No one knew, except for the thug, who refused to tell anyone. They eventually stopped at a gas station. The thug stayed in the car. Crusher's brother went out to fill up the gas, while Sera and her cousin went inside the store. The back door of the store was open, and Sera's cousin wanted them to escape, but he couldn't bear the thought of leaving his sister behind. An old man was refueling his truck when suddenly, a well-dressed man approached and began talking to him. This made the two thugs nervous. The old man pulled out his gun. Just then, Sera and her cousin came out. The well-dressed man started talking to them as well, which further heightened the thugs' anxiety. They feared that the man might become suspicious of them. But Sera skillfully distracted him with small talk. After that, they all moved forward. On the way, the thugs started arguing with everyone. Suddenly, a large deer appeared ahead. The car couldn't be controlled and collided with the deer. All three survived, but the thug got stuck badly, and the deer died. The deer's antlers had pierced the thug's chest. He tried to remove the deer, but it was too heavy to move. The thug was in pain, but it worsened when the deer suddenly regained consciousness and began thrashing around. Unable to bear the pain, the thug shot the deer in the head but couldn't save himself. The thug's brother grabbed the gun from him and demanded to know where they were going, but the thug still refused to tell. Enraged, his brother shot him in the head. Now their plan was ruined, and they had no idea what to do next. The phones weren't working, so they decided to continue on foot. They were unsure whether to move forward or go back to the gas station. With them was the kidnapped girl, and they were contemplating what to do with her. Suddenly, a truck appeared with a man driving it. He offered to take two of them to the gas station to get help. But the thug had another plan. He thought, why not take all three and the girl too? With this thought, the thug shot the man, even though he was just trying to help. The thug was about to fire another shot when Sera's brother stopped him, and the truck driver ran away. The thug wanted to kill Sera's brother too, but there wasn't enough time. They took the kidnapped girl out and began moving through the forest. Meanwhile, Crusher's brother was watching them. Seeing humans, his mouth began to water because a meal for the next few weeks was in front of him. He quickly went to Crusher, who was sitting sadly because his new friend, the girl he had killed, had escaped. His brother told him, new friends have arrived, and they both picked up handcuffs and chains to follow them. On the other side, the truck driver's condition had worsened as he was losing blood from the gunshot wound. The vehicle pulled over, and the old man saw him. He quickly called the well-dressed man for help. Seeing this, the well-dressed man realized the situation was serious because the man had been shot. The well-dressed man saw a news report on TV about 4 kidnappers who had fled with a girl. Upon seeing the description of their car, he was convinced that they were the same people he had encountered earlier in the day. He immediately informed the police and set out to follow them. Sera's brother was taking complete care of Aish, while Crusher was following them. However, the thug had grown frustrated with the whole situation, and he wanted to kill Sera's brother as well. He intended to fire the gun, but before he could, Crusher's brother shot him first. Then, he said, "This man was evil, he was leading us into trouble. We must save ourselves." But his words had no effect on Crusher's brother. As soon as Crusher's brother moved forward, he gagged him, handcuffed the siblings, and took them to the car. They were confused as to why they were being taken to the car. In reality, Crusher's brother wanted the deer's head. How could he leave such a delicious meal behind? Aish was left behind on purpose so that Crusher could befriend her. However, Crusher knocked Aish out with one blow. Meanwhile, Crusher's brother was making Sera's brother cut off the deer's head and then asked the siblings to help. When it came time to remove the head, Sera's brother asked, "Don't you want the meat?" Crusher's brother replied, "We don't eat animal meat." Sera's brother thought that they must be vegetarians, but in truth, they were cannibals who ate human flesh. By this time, Crusher had already reached home with Aish. Aish was pretending to be unconscious, but when she tried to escape, she tripped over some items and knocked herself out for real. Crusher's brother also brought Sera and her brother along, and they were horrified upon seeing Crusher. Crusher ordered them to smile forcefully, and when Sera gave a fake smile, Crusher seemed satisfied. During this, the well-dressed man, Sharif, had reached their car, and upon seeing it, his mind was blown. The car had crashed, and the thug had been shot. The deer's head had also been severed. Sharif decided to follow the tracks left by the deer's bleeding head, and as he did, he eventually reached the house. Inside, Sera presented a deal to Crusher's brother. "If you let us go, we can kidnap the girl and get a lot of money. You'll get half." But Crusher's brother wasn't interested in the deal. He offered Sera some lemonade, but she refused, saying, "I don't take drinks from strangers." Crusher's brother admitted his mistake and extended his hand for a handshake. But Sera became suspicious, thinking the lemonade might be poisoned. However, she then thought that if they wanted to kill her, they would have done so in the forest. So, she agreed to drink it. Sera remarked, "You're just like serial killers." Crusher's brother replied, "No, we don't take killing lightly. We are the kind who torture our prey before ending them." Crusher's brother then tried to intimidate Sera, and she reluctantly drank the lemonade. But as soon as Crusher's brother placed his gun to the side, Sera grabbed it and shot him. At that moment, she realized that the lemonade wasn't poisoned, but it contained a sedative. Crusher's brother was about to reach Aish. Aish had been tied to a chair and was still pretending to be unconscious. Crusher's brother broke her lock, removed the gag from her mouth, and for the first time, we saw her face. Crusher knocked Sera's brother unconscious with a single blow. Crusher's brother told Sera to take Aish to the room and lock her inside. Crusher followed the instructions and then tied Sera outside, so she could be sliced later. A bag was placed over Aisha's face, and Crusher started recording the entire scene, so he could enjoy it later. Meanwhile, Crusher tied Sera's brother to a chair. Crusher's brother revived Sera and began hurting her in front of the camera. Hearing Sera's screams, Aish realized she had to do something. Aish had two options: she could either run or take action. She didn't decide to run but instead picked up a shotgun, loaded it with bullets, and kept 2 extra bullets in her pocket. Crusher's brother was hurting Sera's brother when Aish entered and shot Crusher. Aish then held Crusher's brother at gunpoint and freed Sera's brother. Afterward, she had Sera's brother imprison Crusher's brother on video. The three of them left the house, taking Crusher's brother with them because they knew he would lead them to the road. Sera's brother noticed that Crusher's brother was still alive. He dressed him up, and they all hurriedly set off. Aish was furious with the two because they were her kidnappers, not her friends. But they were all still in danger from Crusher's brother. As they were walking, Crusher's brother grabbed Sera's brother. Sera's brother told Aish to shoot, but when she didn't, Crusher's brother broke Sera's brother's neck, killing him. Aish still didn't fire. That's when Sera grabbed the gun and shot Crusher's brother. Since Sera now held the gun, Aish was forced into submission. Sera had Aish at gunpoint when someone shot Sera in the head, blowing it off. It was Sharif. He had assumed Sera was going to kill Aish, so he killed her. Sharif asked Aish a few questions and then told her, "Take me to their house so I can get to the root of this situation." When they reached the house, they saw that Crusher wasn't there. Aish realized things had turned bad and wanted to flee. Sharif handcuffed her to a chair before heading outside, but Crusher caught him with one hand and crushed his face. Afterward, Crusher began dismembering him. By that time, Aish had freed herself from the handcuffs. Crusher had chopped off Sharif's hands and feet and lifted him into the air. He pulled out a large knife. Aish took the opportunity to try and escape. At that moment, Crusher's brother entered and held her at gunpoint. But Aish quickly moved forward and stabbed the knife deep into his forehead. Before dying, he screamed for Crusher. Crusher arrived, and Aish shot him again. She grabbed a few bullets and ran outside. Crusher followed her, but he was weak from the gunshot wounds and moved slowly. Aish took advantage and reached the road, where the police were already present. But before stepping onto the road, Aish locked eyes with Crusher, challenging him, "Come and see what I can do." Crusher ignored her challenge and turned away. Aish left with the police. That night, the police arrived at the house while Crusher watched them from a distance. Then he disappeared into the forest because he was preparing to kill the officers. This meant the cycle of death was about to start again. Crusher's brother was dead, but now he intended to handle everything on his own. He was ready to avenge his brother, and with this dark ending, the story comes to a close. I request you to help me reach 10,000 subscribers on my channel as soon as possible. We hope you all enjoyed this video, and we kindly ask you to like it. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for your lovely comments. See you in the next video.